This is a charity interview.
People like, oh, it would be so hard to undo all the corruption that exists within the system. No, it's actually relatively easy.
Oh, I need to hear this. How?
It's not America first to set the conditions that will later harm America.
Yeah. Just creating new terrorists for the future.
I think that's right. And look, I mean, anybody who is honest and looks at what's happening in Gaza right now has got to be absolutely sickened by it.
That's where the hollow earth theory starts coming in.
There's another
provide the other
But
end of
that
that.
hollow earth is they're
hollow
saying
flat earth.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Nation was founded by men of many nations and backgrounds.
Have you ever read about the reasons they attacked us? They attack us because we've been over there.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
what do you want to do?
I don't know, T. Let's just go fucking start the show.
What's up, Doom Nation, and welcome back. You were listening to the Two Doom Men podcast. As always, it's Scagz and yours truly, the Captain. Sorry we haven't been here for a while, but, you know, Christmas time, this time of the year is very difficult. The last time you saw us was when I retired from the WWE with John Cena.
Yeah, that was the last time you saw us in general. Last time you saw us politically was with the Unfit Statesman.
Yes.
It was back in November at this point. Yeah, I got sick after that. Then there was Thanksgiving, and then the Christmas insanity has ensued since.
Yep.
Still just kind of getting over the hangover from last Saturday's Christmas Eve.
Amazing, can't see my...
Eve.
Yeah, our Christmas party. Cheers, pal.
Cheers. Yeah, this one was earned. This one here. Yeah, the Christmas party kind of got out of control. I actually brought, so ironically enough, the captain got me as his secret
How much
Santa.
cool shit can I get you in a year? Let's see.
I know. He got me, ironically, he got me Tony Soprano with the horse right here. The live infomercial. I didn't bring all the presents the captain got me, but he got me a couple good ones. He got me the Bada Bing sign from the Sopranos as well. So, you know, we did the Sopranos theme this year for Halloween. I can't unfortunately plug it in over here. There's no outlet. So got me a couple books too and some other good stuff. That was a good time all together. But here we are. We're back. We're ready to go. Talk about the news. You ready?
Yes, sir. Let's hit it.
Yeah. So I don't know how much you've been paying attention lately. I mean, we were on a bit of hiatus.
I don't even know who's president anymore, pal. Is Charlie Kirk back alive? I don't know.
I wish. Yeah. I did see there was a story recently saying that he was definitely going to be run as Vance's vice president, most likely in 2028. People were saying
Charlie Kirk is going to be ran.
Yeah, I don't think that's a surprise. Maybe there was a little bit sooner than people thought, but I think a lot of people definitely saw.
So they're going to run a dead guy for?
No. I'm saying before they were died.
Okay. They were
part of the plan.
Him.
Yeah, he was being groomed to run for president at some point in the future. He was still very young. But I saw recently.
That's why they killed him. Oh, wait. Sorry, Ben Shapiro. Can't say they because you're covering up for somebody. Yeah. That's why he died.
So, yeah, well, I think we should maybe start off by talking about the Turning Point USA's Amfest, which was kind of like their biggest event that they did since Charlie was assassinated. Aside from Charlie's kind of like funeral service, which wasn't really necessarily a political event, it's more of a celebration of his life. This is the first kind of like get back into the groove, big turning point event style thing, and it comes at an interesting time given this like ongoing civil war that's going on within the right wing of America.
Podcast community.
The podcast bro community, which we've sat on the sidelines for some time. I am kind of a little bit tired of it in general. Like I have still kind of paid attention on what's been going on. And I'm kind of a little bit tired of like the Gossip Girls shit that's going on between Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, Tucker, Nick Fuentes, blah, blah, blah. We are going to talk about it, but I kind of like to get back to the point where we actually talk about the shit that matters and war with Venezuela.
Well,
and
nothing
XYZ
matters
and
now. I
whatnot.
mean, we're going to get regime change in Venezuela. That, you know, everything's still anti-Semitic, right? The Epstein files are still not fully transparent, even though there's a law making them transparent. I love how it needs to be transparent, and then they just re-release redacted files. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a whole thing, right? I haven't seen.
And-
I know that
and
got released last
what-
Thursday, but
the one thing that I paid attention to, I literally just saw it the other day, was Trump's golden naval fleet. And it just, even for me, and I'm on, you know, more of a crusader now than I am a Republican.
Knights
but
Templar.
yeah. He's just putting his name on everything now. You know, what did he do to the Kennedy Center? Didn't he just change it to the Trump Kennedy Center or something?
Something like that. I mean, that's
And now
dumb,
we
man.
got
He's
now we got the
marketing,
Trump fleet.
branding.
Yeah, and
Trump
then it's gonna
vodka.
be the, you know, there was a joke on Saturday Night Live, the Trump Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah, maybe that's where it's going. Yeah, the Trump class battleship. They're bringing battleships back.
Yeah.
In 2027, perhaps, or something like that. They unveiled a new style. Yeah, I mean, sounds cool as fuck. You know, that seems to be a lot of what this administration's about. So, Carl, let's do things that sound cool as fuck, but any sort of like meaningful, fundamental changes that will fix things in the future, they seem to be uninterested in. Do we need cool sounding fucking battleships and the Secretary of
War
Defense being renamed the Secretary of War? No, I don't think so. I don't think that really actually fixes anything. Going back to the Turning Point USA stuff, I know I am kind of tired of the Gossip Girl shit going on, but Captain and I talked about this actually back when we were in Long Island at Trump's rally in Nassau Coliseum, and we were just kind of like spitballing. We thought it would be interesting to see once Trump is kind of not president anymore or out of the picture, and politically speaking, kind of what comes next, who comes next, what like line of thinking, like do we go back to like the Bush era neocon type shit, or do we stick with the MAGA America First type movement? Now a lot has changed since Nassau Coliseum.
Is there really any as we march into war with Venezuela because Bibi and the CIA said so? Is there really any difference between, you know, MAGA and the Bush neocon party?
Within the administration, it doesn't appear to be so at this point in time. But I do think that there's what is MAGA? It's a broad term. I'm talking about like the supporters. Right. What do people want? So when it comes to Amfest, Turning Point USA, I thought it would be interesting for me and Captain to watch some of the clips to talk about it, because for what it's worth, I do think that Turning Point did allow both kind of paths that we are going on here. One of the two will probably end up being the one that we come out of this thing on in a couple of years. And they had the two kind of leading voices or leaders of the two kind of opposing point of views within the right wing of America, that being Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson. Now, I'm speaking very generally. I don't mean to say that they're just the leaders or anything like that. I'm just like influential people within the right wing who have large shows and a lot of people follow them and listen to. I don't know if that's exactly true anymore about Ben Shapiro, but it's definitely true about Tucker Carlson, or at least historically true about Ben Shapiro, that a lot of people used to listen to him before. But it's definitely true about Tucker Carlson now. I think I saw his show is number 7 on the top shows in the United States right now. Definitely number 1 in the political specific world. Yeah,
it's kind of funny now because like the Democratic Party has crashed so hard and burned, and think they have like an 18% approval rating, like it's the lowest it's ever been. And now we got like this future of like the Republican Party, And once again, it's the same like story, the same playbook of when it was the left versus the right. Now it's just a part of the right and a part of the left, and one seems kind of controlled, the other one doesn't. You know what I mean? Like when we get into it, I have some things that I wanted to say because I did listen to Ben Shapiro's speech, and I just got some weird vibes and odd feelings from it all that we'll get into.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could just jump right into it. So I thought we would start with, so now Turning Point USA's Amfest is going on. Ben Shapiro happens to be like one of the first couple guys speaking, and he goes hard at like Tucker, Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes. Now, again, why do we think this is kind of important? It's because these people do influence people, and they kind of are representatives, including Nick Fuentes, definitely, of the right wing or factions within the right wing. I throw Dave Smith in there as well. So Ben goes up there and he definitely has an agenda. His agenda is to punch hard at these people. And I thought we could watch some of it, give our thoughts on some of it, and then afterwards see some of Tucker Carlson's response to it, including our own. I am not going to watch the whole thing. Ooh, they fucking Apple did an update here.
It's been a while, folks.
I hate when Apple
don't
does.
even recognize it anymore.
Hate when Apple does updates. They just change things for no reason. Okay, so I'm starting off here. Ben gave like a 20-minute speech. I did watch the whole thing, but we're not going to watch the whole thing here. We'll watch maybe like from 4 minutes to like 10 minutes or so. Or we'll stop when you want me to stop, Cap, and you want to say something. I do want to give him. So like no, most of the time we don't listen to what Ben Shapiro has to say. So Tucker's going to get a shorter portion on Two Doomed Men here tonight, and Ben's going to get like at least a 6-minute chance to say what he has to say. So little spirit of fairness.
Precursor, if you know anything about our show and who Scagz and I would be more likely to follow, Tucker Carlson or Ben Shapiro.
I don't know about follow is the right word. Maybe who am
support?
I more likely
I don't know. What
to
would
listen
you call
to? Who I more likely agree with?
Okay.
Agree with more of the two. And of course, and this is interesting because this gets into the whole concept in general. Like, that doesn't mean I agree with every single thing Tucker Carlson or Ben Shapiro say, of course. That is a preposterous fucking claim that is being made all the time. So just, we'll start with that.
Yeah,
anyway.
I lost all respect when I found out what Ben Shapiro was, in some early October incident happened a few years ago during the Biden administration. And Ben's really showed who he's owned by, but, we won't speak about that. So let's hear him out.
We will. All right.
I want to discuss 5 obligations that people who speak to you on matters of importance have to you. I want to speak to you about our duties. Our first duty is truth. We owe you the truth. That means we should not mislead you. It means we shouldn't hide the ball. We shouldn't be deliberately obscure about what we're telling you. We have an obligation to clarity and to honesty. This means that we actually have to be clear in the language that we use. We should not traffic in generality. We should not say things like, they shot Charlie, without specifying whom we mean by they. The person who allegedly shot Charlie Kirk and whom all the evidence points at, all of it, is a gay, trans-loving furry.
All right, I'll stop already. Saying we shouldn't be using the word they when we talk about anything. This is a weird sort of line of thinking. I mean,
he's covering.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, put aside like the specifics of anything. We could definitely know that there's some sort of conspiracy going on. We definitely know that there is some sort of conspiracy going on everywhere. There are always conspiracies going on, right?
Yes.
You just kind of know. But you might not know the actual specifics exactly with 100%.
Yeah, you're still working out the details, right? That's
so
why
you
it's a conspiracy.
Yeah. A lot of people do it, and it doesn't make it any less valid. So it's an odd point to make. Like, you just can't use the word they.
Yeah, but though, the problem that I feel is that they are the people who own Ben, and saying they kind of points a finger in that direction, and he's just trying to redirect it. I'm gonna be quite honest with you. The biggest issue I had with Ben's speech is I felt like he was covering for someone. I feel like he and his people, and that has nothing to do with his religion or race or anything, just the people that he works with or the people that are on his side, they're kind of are taking the approach of like mainstream media circa 2017. You know what I mean? Like, he's like the established podcaster with the money backing him, and we can't talk about we can't just give general ideologies. We need to have concrete evidence before we speak on anything and stuff. Mainstream media kind of like went about that, and like, you know what I mean? Like, my problem is like the one thing we've all learned here is like most conspiracy theories are true. Not all conspiracy theories are true, but there is some truth to all of them. And when you have somebody talking about, a specific topic, just like they're talking about who potentially killed Charlie Kirk or who might be involved, and then you have this established, paid, backed individual come up on stage and start talking about, well, we can't talk about that. They have no say in this. You kind of just sound like you're covering and you're the new form of the mainstream media. Yeah, that's my biggest problem.
It's a retread of that old playbook, and this is what Tucker Carlson will get into later. That we all kind of rejected that, but it's a retread with a different flavor. He's not doing it as layman as gay as they would be doing it on CNN. Slightly less gay, but I'd say equally as lame.
Yeah, still gay.
Yeah, let's keep going because there's a lot of it here, and I want to make sure we give Ben a chance to actually flush out his thoughts before we unload on it. I have another larger point about the they thing in a minute here, but
if we are going to target ideological movements, we should talk about the fact that the radical trans movement treats all those who oppose it as existential threats.
Don't disagree.
Or if we're going to talk about the Democratic Party making room for the radical trans movement and echoing its inflammatory rhetoric, well, we should talk about that. Those are specific problems, and they require specific responses.
Okay.
When people
whoa. You can still talk about like the woke radical shit, and we used to say they, right? Yeah. Like, I don't know exactly.
Well, they actually prefer us to call them they, them.
That's true. That's a good point. But again, we used to say they all the time, and we still do. Like, it seemed like that was not just organic, that whole thing has been drafted up in a think tank somewhere, right? Like some sort of social psychological experiment thing. Now, I don't know exactly who did that, but they seem to definitely have done that. So it's like, what exactly are you trying to say here, Ben? Like, you can't have it both ways. Like, when we were in agreement with you, we said the same shit. I don't think Ben Shapiro would have ever, like, if we had a conversation with them, push back. We said, they're like trying to push the radical trans agenda on people. And then I don't think he really would have been like, well, who's they? You can't say they. He'd have just known like what we were kind of talking about, right? Like, the deep state, whatever. The establishment.
Because I have a feeling that they killed Charlie and that they that own Ben Shapiro are the same person.
Yeah. I'm sorry to keep interrupting him. Let me make my other point here, just about theys in general. I also find it extremely ironic for him to be talking about the term they specifically, because now we haven't covered this exactly ourselves that closely, but I have been keeping an eye on it, and. A few months ago, Candace Owens revealed text messages that were like between Charlie Kirk, some of his staff, and some like friends of his the day before his murder. And in those texts, Charlie himself said, "They want me dead." Right? So ironic. He's talking about honesty. He's talking about they. He's going to talk shit about Candace here in a little bit. I don't know. Even Charlie Kirk used the word they, and it seemed like, if you know anything about that kind of story, Candace kind of just put that out there without showing any evidence of it. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of these people went on record saying like, she's lying, she's full of shit, whatever. I remember Josh Hammer, who's not a part of Turning Point USA, but he definitely was in Charlie Kirk's circle. He went out there saying that she's lying, whatever. Then later, Candace goes and like just posts the text, like she actually had the evidence. So she allowed them to kind of like expose them, show you their true colors, and then put out the evidence after. So if you want to talk about like honesty, et cetera, like that didn't seem very honest. Now that doesn't mean that they were involved. I don't know, right? But like, let's hold the same standard here for everyone, right? That is what Ben Shapiro was trying to say, but doesn't seem that's what he's actually following. All right. Back to old Ben here. Sorry, we'll just let this roll here.
Charlie, however, they are instead trafficking in vagary that results in increased hatred without proposing any effective response. They are fostering despair and rage, and that makes things worse. We must also be honest about what people say and do, regardless of what that means coalitionally. It is the job of politicians to build coalitions. It's the job of those of us who try to shape public opinion to hold politicians to account and to hold them accountable to our values. We must not let fear of audience deter us from telling the truth. We must not let fear of other hosts deter us from telling the truth. So, for example, if Candace Owens...
All right, so real quick, he says, we have... Again, I agree with him kind of on the fundamental points he's trying to make, and I don't even necessarily disagree in terms of, I've even said to you before, like, we should try and be a little bit as precise as we possibly can be when we're talking about things, like not just come up here and just whatever.
It's fair. Yeah.
Right. So I don't disagree fundamentally with that. But that you do have some sort of responsibility to your audience or whatever to be as honest, an honest person who shapes public opinion, like he's trying to say. But let's be real. What the fuck did this guy just do for the past 3 years when it came to the war in Gaza? Right. He misconstrued things,
championed it. Yeah.
Conflated, criticism with the secular government of Israel with anti-Semitism, right? He was a bad faith actor. He was not honest. So he wants to sit out here and be like, everyone has the responsibility to be honest to you. Well, he was a 100% not honest. Why that is, we could get into later. And then also, I do value myself that we should try and be as precise as we possibly can. Although we do say they, like I said before, we kind of know what we're pointing at. Like we know that there is some sort of they. But like this whole idea that like people are too stupid to form their own opinion, or like the listeners
that's
of
what
this
the main
show treat them like fucking adults.
Dude,
it's your fucking responsibility to like be a grown, critical thinking adult. If you're going to listen to me and not, think critically about anything I say, that's your fucking fault. That's not my fault.
Dude, that's why the mainstream media failed. And that's why the controlling factors behind Ben Shapiro will fail too. Because people continuously underestimate listeners. You guys are too stupid. We're going to be the ones to tell you what's going on. This assassination that took place, there's so many questions. It was so bizarre. It was so violent. It was so crazy. And then to just think like it's all wrapped up and done. We got it figured out, boys. There's no lying. There's nothing strange happened here.
You know what I mean? Trust the government. Everything they're saying is accurate.
Let's just trust everybody. All the evidence points to this guy. And how many times has it not? Just look at the COVID vaccine. You could go back 6 years ago now, and the same newspapers and the same legacy media outlets will sit there and go, if you don't get vaccinated, we should string you up and murder you. You're killing the rest of the country by not being vaccinated. Fast forward to the end of 2025, the same outlets are going, people are dying left and right from the COVID vaccine. It's actually pretty dangerous. There's a black box on it now. Yeah. We were all squared away back in 2020. That was stone cold law. Fucking stone cold law. I like that. Well, but now things...
again, ironically, if you want to even like talk about track records and things, like what was Ben Shapiro's track record on COVID, the vaccine, etc. Get the vaccine, you dopes. He supported all these things lockstep for the most part throughout all of that, So like, go look at the track records of people.
Dude,
look at the track record of Tucker Carlson on COVID and compare it to Ben Shapiro on COVID.
Yeah. Bro, like if somebody, God forbid, assassinated you, and all of a sudden some, Garrett was posting that Dave Smith had you killed, I'd be interested in looking down that rabbit hole, not just going, no, Garrett, you're wrong. Steve did it. They arrested him. That's it. He's done. The case closed. I would explore all options.
Yeah,
the only reason you're not exploring all options is because you're being told not to.
Yeah, look, I do think there can definitely be like some distasteful shit, You are talking about a dude who had kids and a family
Yeah,
and he got murdered, right? But he was a super popular, political, influential figure, and it was a political assassination. So it's going to just be in the spotlight, and that's the way
the
it's going
one
to
thing
go. It's not a
I've
random
been
person.
discovering is that the youth of this of our country, I don't even know what generation they would be. I don't think would they be Gen Alpha now, or they're a very super based generation, and the Democratic Party is so unfavorable now that like kids are like using, like the way we used to call each other gay, like, oh, you don't want to come and hang out, you're gay. Be like, oh, you don't want to come out, you sound like a liberal. You know what I mean? So
Gen Z.
Okay, so Gen Z, is that what that is?
Yes.
Yeah, they're super based. So many names flying around. Charlie had their ear. Charlie was, ushering the future of our voting base in a specific direction. And there was outside powers that wanted to influence the youth of our nation. And that's what made Charlie such a big target. And now there's people out here who have not very great track records who are just accepting the narrative and pushing that down. And it makes me question the true intentions of Turning Point USA at this point. I saw something, I think like in Arizona, that there's going to be like Turning Point classes or something in all high schools or something in a specific state, or a Turning Point USA like club is going to be opening up in high schools across some certain state. And I'm like, on paper, that's great, like open based discussion amongst our youth. But what's that curriculum going to look
what's it
like?
actually look like?
Yeah.
What's
involved in it?
Yeah. To push back on a little bit on what you're saying here. I mean, Turning Point is allowing, Tucker Carlson to go up there and punch back, and Megyn Kelly as well. We won't cover her, but she also pushed back against Ben Shapiro. So they, again, like, I think it's okay to be suspicious of a giant political organization.
Fair point.
Trying to shape and influence the minds of young people. Absolutely, it's okay to think critically about them and question whatever it is they're doing. But for now, at least they're still following in Charlie's footsteps. He definitely had his own opinions, but he allowed Dave Smith to go up there and debate Josh Hammer. And I talked about this before when Dave was like, I already fucking smacked down Josh Hammer once in a debate. I'm not interested in debating him again. Charlie Kirk told Dave Smith, no, dude, I think you should really come. Like, this is a good opportunity for you to make your case to a bunch of young people. And we all know what Dave Smith's case is. It's pro-liberty, not pro-Israel, America first type shit. And that's not necessarily Charlie Kirk's exact worldview, but he pressed Dave Smith to come and do it, right? And he did. So, they are kind of still following at least that mold to some degree or another. What that remains to be seen if this is the last time Tucker Carlson would ever speak at an Amfest event. Let's keep going.
Decides to spend every day since the murder of Charlie Kirk
I don't like to read too much into crowd reactions, but the crowd was very mixed. I'll say sometimes you hear boos, sometimes you hear clapping, sometimes you hear like uncomfortable groaning from both sides.
I also just wanted to point out the shot of the crowd, the section or the row of the crowd that was clapping at what he just said was all white-haired boomers.
If Candace Owens decides to spend every day since the murder of Charlie Kirk casting aspersions at TPUSA and the people who work here, who worked with Charlie every single day, his best friends, to cast aspersions at Mikey McCoy and Andrew Colvin and Blake Neff and Tyler Boyer, and yes, at Erica Kirk, and to imply or outright claim complicity in a cover-up over Charlie's murder, to spew absolutely baseless trash implicating everyone from French intelligence to Mossad to members of TPUSA in Charlie's murder or a cover-up in that murder, then we, as people with a microphone, have a moral obligation to call that out by name. Erica Kirk and TPUSA never should have been put in the position to have to defend themselves against such specious and evil attacks, particularly in a time of mourning. And the people who refuse to condemn Candace's truly vicious attacks, and some of them are speaking here, are guilty of cowardice. Yes, cowardice. The fact that they have said nothing while Candace has been vomiting all sorts of hideous and conspiratorial nonsense into the public square for years is just as cowardly.
Pause it. Pause it.
Second,
now he's had a problem with what she's been doing for years. She's one of the biggest voices of MAGA and everything that we've been through together since 2020 for us, but before that. Yeah. And now she's been all because she disagrees with him on one topic and wants to question things. She's been spewing garbage for years now. So now he's out. She just became the they for him.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay.
He's going to make a larger point here about how being someone's friend doesn't kind of like absolve you of your fundamental principles or like things you believe in. I'm going to, and we'll hear that out. But I also find that kind of ironic because the point he just made is like, hey, you can't criticize Erica Kirk and Andrew Colvett and Turning Point USA like after Charlie Kirk just got murdered because like they're my friends.
Yeah.
Right? So like,
yeah,
and that's mean. Oh, so like you do believe that you do believe that you should be loyal to your friends and not criticize them if you like, even if you disagree with some of the things you're doing.
As long as your financier says it's okay.
Like, it's just that like they're doing the thing that you agree with.
Yeah.
So that's why you won't do it. It's very simple here.
It's the same playbook as left-wing, deep state nonsense.
It's the same playbook as Hamas and the IDF.
Yeah.
Like when Hamas kills people in Israel, civilians, me and you look at it and we say, holy shit, that is fucking terrible. We don't think that's good. We don't think they should have did that. And then when the IDF turns around and kills 30,000 civilians in Gaza, we turn around and go, holy shit, that's terrible. I don't think they should have did that. But both of those sides are saying, nope, we're the right ones to kill the other side, and et cetera, et cetera. It's the same shit, just not as serious of a topic. We're talking about friendship here instead of missiling people to death. Yeah. Okay, keep going. Ready?
Yeah,
anything else? Let's do it.
Because we owe you the truth, we owe you the duty to speak out of principle, not personal feeling. It should not matter whether we despise someone or whether we love someone. The question is what they say and what they do, and whether those things are morally decent or not. On a political level, do they foster freedom, justice, and prosperity? On a personal level, do they treat others as they would wish to be treated? Personal feeling is not a substitute for moral judgment. To take again the Candace Owens situation as an example, friendship with public figures who say or do evil things is not an excuse for silence on the matter. Politics is not the sisterhood of the traveling pants.
All right. Again, like from Candace Owens' point of view, she thinks that Turning Point USA is doing some evil shit, and she feels morally compelled to speak out about it. Right? She doesn't care that they're used to be her friends or whatnot. But it's the same thing. Just Ben Shapiro's only applying his logic one way. Was it subjective? He's got like subjective morals instead of objective morals.
Politics is about principle, and if you are willing to sacrifice basic truth and simple principle in favor of emotional solidarity, you have betrayed your fundamental duty to the American people.
Fundamental duty to the American people. I don't know, Cap. Do we have me and you? Do we have a fundamental duty to the American people? Who has a fundamental duty to the American people? The fucking president of the United States.
It's about it. Congress. Yeah.
If I want to come up here and fart into a microphone for fucking 4 hours, talk about my fundamental duty. I don't have any fundamental duty. You only have a fundamental duty to yourself. If you then decide to get into a position of power where it's sold as you serving the people, then you got a fundamental fucking duty to the American people. Get the fuck out of here. Candace Owens has a fundamental duty to the American people, like she's the president of the world or some shit.
First off, I should break the omerta here and just be a little bit clear. The notion that people in our industry are close friends, like we all take holiday breaks with each other and go to each other's kids' graduations and stuff, is generally untrue. Some people do that, most of us don't. We see each other at conferences and we talk on the phone and all the rest. We're business colleagues. But even if it were true that other public figures were our best friends, our very best friends, that does not relieve us of our duty to speak out of principle and not to cover up evil or shy away from addressing it out of friendship.
All right. It's principle. Even if someone is your friend, out of principle, you have a duty to call them out if they disagree with something.
So go ahead. I don't want to steal your
I
point.
just disagree with that completely. I view friendship and loyalty also as principles, right? And if there are things your friends do that you don't agree with and you don't like, you can choose like what are my first principles here? Is it loyalty? Is it friendship? Or is it conservative political ideological policies, right? And I think that he's trying to again conflate like, no, friendship and loyalty aren't principles, but like whatever it is he's trying to sell here are again conservative principles.
And it just comes down to he just disagrees with Candace Owens because she feels it's her duty to expose this. From her perspective, what he just said is correct. From her perspective, right? With
Exactly.
what she's doing,
Now, maybe she's full of shit. Maybe it is all a grift. Maybe she's putting on a show, an act. I don't know, right? But from what she's saying, this is just something she cares about, right? Just like what from Ben Shapiro says, he cares about the Jewish people and freedom and conservative values and etc. Right? Like we can sit here and speculate. Does Ben Shapiro have ulterior motives? We definitely are soon as we get to the next part. And we are fucking free as free people to do that. Why? Because we just are. It's not even because he's a political, he's like this, an icon, a person who's put himself up there on a stage. That's just the way it goes, right? You can say shit about people, just like Turning Point, just like Erica Kirk. It's just like Tucker Carlson, just like Nick Fuentes, anybody. You could say whatever the fuck you want about them. You could criticize them. You could talk, or not. Or you could be like, that person's my friend. I don't like what they said. I don't agree with that policy they had. I'm not going to go on here and talk shit about them. And to be honest with you, dude, that happens with me all the time. There's plenty of friends we have in this space. I don't fucking agree with them on everything. I think some of the things that they say and think are retarded. But I'm not going to come on here every time and lambast them and put them on blast. Like, there are plenty of other people that are doing that already anyway. Yeah. Like, I'll go and pick someone else who I'm not friends with, like Ben Shapiro, and go make the points about that. Like, I don't need to pick on Garrett or something who's my friend. Just someone else will, And I don't mean Garrett specifically. I'm just using it as an example.
I know who you're thinking of.
Okay. Keep it moving. I promise we'll wrap up Ben here in a little bit. I just want to get to the point we punches at Tucker really hard.
No, Tucker Carlson, it is not an excuse to go silent on Candace's targeting of TPUSA. Or to mirror her bullshit lines of questioning because you love Candace personally. The same holds true of Megyn Kelly, a person I consider a friend, characterizing Candace as a young mother and thus shying away from condemning her actions or fibbing about them. That is a non-starter. Meghan Markle is a young mother. Ilhan Omar is a young mother. That doesn't matter. And when Megyn said this week, quote, my goal and my job here is to try to understand, yes, where Candace is coming from on this, and says she sees no purpose in inserting herself, quote, into this on one side, that is a moral and logical absurdity.
That's where you're wrong. She's trying to understand where Candace is coming from. That's like a perfect example of like why we got into politics and stuff. We are willing to try and get the perspective of the weird and the other side. And who Ben brings him up, the pro-Nazi guy that is basically exposing the false history that we have been learned. Nick something, I think. He was on
Fuentes?
Tucker. Who?
Nick Fuentes?
No.
Daryl
the guy who wrote the book. And he's not pro-Nazi, but he tries to.
I'm not sure. You've been listening to too much Ben Shapiro over there. Okay, I'm talking about
No.
Cooper,
We listened to Tucker interview this guy who basically explained that Churchill was the bad guy.
Yeah, Daryl Cooper.
There we go. Daryl Cooper.
Yeah, he's definitely not pro-Nazi. Let's just get that out there. Like,
no, I'm not saying that.
Too much Daily Wire. But go ahead.
But that's what I'm trying to like. she has all the right to try and figure out where Candace is coming from, because all options should be explored. This was Charlie Kirk's death was a huge turning point, and I don't even mean, I know it's Turning Point USA, in culture and America. This was a wildly shocking moment across the board. And if somebody has potential information that the French government or Mossad was involved in it, it should definitely be torn into to find out if the French government or Mossad was into it. Not just we have to staunchly disagree with this topic. There's no way that is possible. Just like the COVID vaccine, there's no way it's unsafe for you.
And even if they don't, and Candace Owens is literally making all of this up so she can monetize her show better and get a lot of views, you are the fucking idiot for lapping it all up, hook, line, and sinker without a critical thought. I have listened to a little bit of the things she said. I'm not 100% sold. I'm not exactly sure what her motives is. I don't know her in person, right? Yeah. But again, I go into it with an open mind, but a critical mind at the same time. Just like I do go into listening to Ben Shapiro here talk for 20 minutes and be like, all right, let me see what this guy has to say about this. I don't always listen to his show. Here's an opportunity where he's speaking to a crowd that I'm in theory in, right? Let me hear what he has to say. And I don't agree with what he has to say. I took the same kind of approach to the past couple of interviews of Nick Fuentes, right? Never really watched the show, only see these random clips of him saying crazy shit.
That's all I've ever seen of him.
But then I hear him for a couple of hours and I'm like, hey, this guy's actually pretty smart. Don't agree with everything he says, like we said, right? But like he has something intelligent to say. He's well read, I could tell. Whether he's a grifter, whether he's lying, whether he's making things up, he's trying to embellish things, whatever, remains to be seen. But I'm aware of that, right? And that goes for whatever person, including Tucker Carlson, Dave Smith, whoever, right? But it's your fucking responsibility, not just that person's responsibility who's doing a show. Otherwise, again, you can complain that all the people, like all the people that are watching CNN and are brainwashed shit libs, it's all CNN's fault. It's only their fault.
Yeah.
No, it's not only their fault, right? It's those people as well, right? Yeah. Be a living, thinking fucking human with a heartbeat. Shit. Isn't this what right-wingers are supposed to be or believe in, right? Like, fuck that.
That's why I got so much problems with this. Yeah. There's part of the right-wing party that's just like, just accept it.
He's gatekeeping. He's gatekeeping. That's what this is called. I am attempting to gatekeep who you should or shouldn't be listening to, and the parameters of the gatekeeping are my parameters. Where Charlie Kirk was like, he did do some gatekeeping. He wouldn't allow Nick Fuentes to come and speak at one of these things, but his gate was much wider than Ben Shapiro's gate was.
Side.
I'll wrap up Ben here in a moment because he mentions a couple people I want to point out a common thread.
The side of the widow with 2 children whose husband was shot live on camera in front of all of us. Friendship with the person accusing TPUSA of a cover-up of Charlie's murder is no excuse for cowardice.
Wait for applause.
Third, and relatedly, we have a duty to take responsibility for what we say and do. If we hire awful people, we're responsible for that. I have some experience there, as you might suspect.
Oh, that's kind of funny. Sorry about
that means that if we offer a guest for your viewing, we owe it to you to ask the kinds of questions that actually get at the truth. If we agree with the guest, that's fine, but we should own it. So, for example, if you host a Hitler apologist, Nazi-loving, anti-American piece of refuse like Nick Fuentes, the Nick Fuentes who said that the vice president of the United States is a, quote, fat gay race traitor married to a Jeet. The person who said that Charlie Kirk was a, quote, retarded idiot. The person who...
I understand more and more the appeal of Nick Fuentes. It's offensive, it's insulting, but it's pretty fucking funny at the same time. And, Ben Shapiro could sit up here in his highfalutin fucking, pearl clutching shit, but every dude talks about everybody like that behind closed doors for the most part.
Said, and pardon my language here, it's his quote, that he, quote, took Turning Point USA and fucked it, and that's why it's filled with groypers. If you have that person on your show and you proceed to glaze him, you ought to own it.
There's that gatekeeping you were talking about. Can't have him on. Excommunicado.
Or it's an odd version of it. It's like you ought to own it. Like if you have one of these people on your show, you ought to own it. Like when has
you should
has
be in the same camp as him. You shouldn't be immune to
right? So
whatever criticism comes his way should be criticism coming towards your way. This is just like
what he's saying.
when just like when Tucker interviewed Putin and everybody went crazy. He's a traitor and all this stuff. Oh no. You just don't want to hear what the enemy has to say. You don't want to hear the other side of the story. There might be information in there that fucks up your storyline over here.
Right. And look, there is some merit to what he's saying that like you could push back on people when you interview them if you disagree with them. I agree with that. Well, then, Ben Shapiro, why don't you fucking interview Dave Smith? Why don't you interview Nick Fuentes, right? Instead, you're slinging stones at people who did. Yeah. You didn't interview this person the way that I liked. And then if you want to use Vladimir Putin for an example, have we not heard enough counter arguments about Vladimir Putin, why he's bad, right? Like the one opportunity that you get to hear Tucker Carlson talk to Vladimir Putin, I'm not interested in watching Tucker Carlson go up there and be like, you sit down right there, and I'm going to spend 4 hours telling you why you're a bad guy.
Yeah.
So I want a conversation to occur, and I want to hear what the guy has to say. And then me, an adult, I'm going to use my brain and be like, I think he's kind of full of shit about this thing. Maybe he's got a point here. You could apply the same logic to the president of Iran when he interviewed him, or even Nick Fuentes, right? Whatever. If you don't like that, then you go and interview the person the way that you fucking want. Okay?
I agree. I think Nick needs to go on Ben Shapiro's show.
It never happened.
There is a reason that Charlie Kirk despised Nick Fuentes, and indeed even chided Dinesh D'Souza for debating him. He knew that Nick Fuentes is an evil troll, and that building him up is an act of moral imbecility. And that is precisely what Tucker Carlson did. He built Nick Fuentes up, and he ought to take responsibility for that, just as he ought to take responsibility for glazing pornographer and alleged sex trafficker Andrew Tate, or for mainstreaming fake historian and
nothing to do with it.
Apologist Daryl Cooper as America's best and most honest popular historian.
All right, there we go. That's what you were talking about before.
Yes.
There are three people he mentioned specifically that he also punches with. Obviously, Nick Fuentes, Andrew Tate, and Daryl Cooper. We have spoken about all three at some point or another on the show. They've all been pretty popular people in the influencer sphere. They are three widely different people, but they share one thing in common. You happen to know what that one thing in common is?
They're free. I don't know.
Criticism of Israel.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that they share in common. Nick Fuentes is extremely criticism of Israel. He is a Catholic, Groyper, right-wing, shock jockey type person. Andrew Tate is a Muslim pimp, manosphere dude, is not Christian, critical of Israel. Daryl Cooper is a very conservative, Christian, right-wing kind of manly man sort of dude, historian, also critical of Israel. So like Ben Shapiro is lumping three completely different people together here. He's kind of accidentally admitting what Ben Shapiro's only, maybe not his only, but at least his primary, like the thing that makes Ben Shapiro tick. What is that? It's not America. It's
Israel.
Right? There are a lot of things that on paper, Daryl Cooper and Ben Shapiro should agree on, like conservative principles, right? Like suit and tie conservative type shit. Doesn't fucking matter. Daryl Cooper doesn't like, the conduct in Gaza, and he's spoken publicly about it, should be ruined. Andrew Tate, pimp playboy, doesn't like the conduct in Gaza, should be ruined. Fuentes, etc. So there you have it.
This is that's what I felt like he was covering for a greater power this entire time. His speech feels established.
It does. Maybe he's not, and maybe he just really does believe the shit, right? Like again, he's so just driven by his own identity. It's ironic, the facts don't care about your feelings, fuck identity politics type thing. He's so driven by that stuff that he just can't help himself in this regard. I want to make one more point about the thing he was saying. He was talking about like the morality of these people, and he says some really that basically saying that Nick Fuentes is like the worst person ever. Yeah. And if you have Nick Fuentes on your show, you are.
He's trying to bury him. Yeah.
Right. Like you're platforming this person
Character
who is just such a bad person morality. And look, I'm not saying Nick Fuentes is without criticism, but let's consider in the grand scheme of things, what is Nick Fuentes Nick Fuentes like actually done. Like he does a show, he's pretty popular. He says some really insulting things about like ethnic groups and minorities, right? Like if you listen to him talk more broadly, he's like against violence. He doesn't think that like any of these minorities or things that he insults should be killed or we should be violent with them or anything like that. Like he says, like, I'm Catholic, I'm Christian, I don't believe in like murder or violence or any of these things. Now let's compare that to like Ben Shapiro. Now, Ben Shapiro might not always say like insulting thing about ethnic minorities, but what is Ben Shapiro always arguing for? Violence. He supports every war that exists. He's in favor of the Venezuela action. He's in favor of the war in Gaza. He's in favor of the war in Ukraine. And you could put them both up in a similar position of authority because they both hold some sort of influence over their audience, like Ben Shapiro saying. One guy is saying mean jokes about minorities that are kind of racist, not advocating for violence in any way whatsoever. The other guy's not saying mean jokes about minorities and things, but he's advocating for policies that literally get human beings killed. Men get in metal machines and they blow each other to smithereens. That is what Ben Shapiro is fucking supporting all the time. So, like, who's actually worse, if you want to talk about it honestly?
Well, you know, war makes money and his handler makes more money, so pro-war.
Yep.
All right, so almost an hour to get through.
We are.
6 minutes of
That's okay. That's
Ben's
all right.
speech.
You can't say that we never gave Ben the floor here on the Two Doom Men podcast. All right, so let's just go over to Tucker Carlson's response, which she is right here. I skipped ahead.
Walking out is always such a trip at these things. I just got here and I feel like I missed the first part of the program. Hope I didn't miss anything meaningful. But I just want to say, I don't think I did. No, I'm just kidding. I watched it. I laughed. That kind of bitter, sardonic laugh that emerges from you when like Upside Down World arrives. When your dog starts doing your taxes and you're like, wait, it's not supposed to work this way. To hear calls for like deplatforming and denouncing people at a Charlie Kirk event, I'm like, what? This is hilarious. Yeah, this is hilarious. Actually, one of the clips I was listening to myself, thinking as I often do when I hear myself speak, which is never, because I never watch myself, but at these events, they always play like the role of you. And I'm like, that guy is pompous. Woo! Sorry about that. We don't see ourselves clearly. But the prediction that, you know, at some point when Republicans took power again, which I did everything I could, you know, to help, and really felt that was important. I still think, you know, I was right. But I really thought that the impulse to deplatform people, or even to use the word platform as a verb, which it's not, it's a noun, don't steal my nouns.
So Tucker says, you know, he's obviously talking about Ben Shapiro here, but I don't think Ben Shapiro actually said that any of these people
I listened
outright
to that whole speech today. He never said the deplat. Openly
right. He never
said
outright said any of these people should be deplatformed. But I didn't watch the whole thing, but there might have been other people who use that sort of terminology.
Yeah.
But again, we kind of know what Ben Shapiro is trying to say.
Yeah.
You're not
He's trying to character assassinate anybody that would agree with these people or have these. You know, if you're going to have if we were to have Nick Fuentes on next week, Ben Shapiro would be the Two Doom Men got to go. They got to go.
Platform and denounce. Why haven't you denounced somebody else?
Yeah,
the whole,
denounce. He definitely said
cultural revolution thing that we so hated and feared on the left that we did.
All right, again, Tucker brilliantly points out like the whole Red Guard cultural revolution thing. Like I just told you, I've been watching this whole fucking history documentary about the history of China, going back to like the Qing dynasty up to President Xi now. And like the cultural revolution is fucking crazy. Like when the communists started taking over, like anyone who like they disagreed with, they like marched your ass up onto stage, put you in a dunce hat, and then like denounced you in front of the fucking town. Beat you, you know, like publicly humiliated you. And like these are things that like Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson, there you go. You know, Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, like they know about this. They've spoken out about that sort of stuff. They hate the Chinese Communist Party. But here they are, like like Tucker's saying, like doing a Red Guard light version of that. Right? Like the complete antithetical thing to what they're purportedly supposed to represent. Here they are, at least attempting to do it, to gatekeep. You should be denouncing Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, because you have no fucking morals, no balls, right? You should be doing it on a public stage, right? I can see some young Chinese kid in, the 60s saying that to some professor who liked the traditional way in China. I'm sure somebody said some shit like that.
This is my biggest problem with what we're talking about here, and why I call Shapiro established in this instance, is because we've seen this playbook. We've gone down this road. It's somebody who has backing and an agenda, begging others to see it his way. And I mean, just think of how many times they, interviewers from the legacy media of it, Trump, do you denounce this? Will you denounce this person? Right. He hasn't denounced these actions yet. He's a bad. No. You all denounced it. It's bad. We get it. He doesn't need to too. You just want him to do it. You ask him these questions so he won't say it, and then you have a clip. We weren't supposed to say that. That you can run. You could run on your Instagram account. People get 3 seconds of information and an opinion's born out of it.
Right, and then even when Trump would denounce something outright, like the remember the Charlottesville Nazis that were there?
Yeah, and they turn the words around.
Right, like they spin the words around, and if you actually watch the full tape, Donald Trump says, "I'm not talking about the white supremacists and Nazis. They should be condemned totally." The establishment omits that, flips that around, try and conflates that, whatever. I can't tell you. I listen to Tucker's show very often. I cannot tell you how many times Tucker Carlson says that anti-Semitism is abhorrent and bad. He almost says it every single show, but Ben Shapiro is going to be out here and pretend like Tucker Carlson hates Jewish people.
We should have an AI just clip all the pieces of him saying that into some 20-minute long series of him denouncing it.
Supercut, right? Is this good enough for you? Just mail it to Ben Shapiro. Something like that. All right, I want to give Tucker more than 1 minute or whatever it is we gave him.
Everything we could to usher in a new time where you could have an actual debate. I mean, this kind of was the whole point of Charlie Kirk's public life.
Stop him again, but man, what he says here hits me in the feels. I agree 100%. It's one of the reasons why I felt so kind of demoralized or just down about Trump. It's God damn it. We just spent all those years fighting against these certain things. And then you go in there and, people who are thought leaders on your side go in there and just turn around and do the same shit. Jeez, man.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about Candace Owens is going to cost you the midterm elections? No, motherfucker, you guys are going to cost you the midterm elections. Why? Because there's a lot of dudes like me that are out there and just ill, and I'm I don't know if I'm not going to be enthusiastic about going to support my local Republican Israel first supporter who calls me an anti-Semitic racist.
Yeah, the guy from New Fairfield, Connecticut is going to go visit the wall in Israel if you vote him in.
He's not, but
that's the guy exactly. I want. Yay.
And I think that he died for it. I really believe that. And I know a lot about it because the last several months of Charlie's life were devoted in part to arguing about this event, in fact, my speech here, which he asked me to do earlier this summer, and was immediately put under just immense pressure from people who give money to Turning Point. I would assume good people, but who wanted him to take me off the roster. And this has all become public, and the whole thing is so sad that I never talk about it, except to say Charlie stood firm in his often stated and deeply held belief that people should be able to debate, and that if you have something valid to say, if you're telling the truth, you ought to be able to explain it calmly and in detail to people who don't agree with you, and that you shouldn't immediately resort to shut up racist.
Shots fired.
Absolutely. Right. And again, I shared you that little inside story about Dave Smith. That is exactly what Charlie Kirk did behind the scenes. Look, I don't agree with you, but whatever. Come to the day, make your point. Maybe you win over people to a position that I don't like. Absolutely. Right. And Ben Shapiro was out there making an attempt at gatekeeping. Who can
doing exactly what Tucker just said.
Yeah, who's going to be the thought leader of the the right wing? Don't listen to these guys. Denounce, gatekeep, get them out of here. You're too dumb to hear anything they have to say. Just listen to what we're going to have to say because we care about being honest and not using vague terms like they. We just take the government's word for every scenario at every turn. If you look back at our history, that's the right wing position, folks. Yeah, buddy. I don't think
do great with the boomers.
I'm not saying that their candidate or whatever won't end up winning the next election or whatever it might be, but I don't think that's how most of the right wing is feeling or the vibe is going. How long that takes to manifest in some sort of actual political win, I have no idea. Maybe never, right? Might never, we might have this populist right wing base and it's fucking super popular, but it actually never changes anything. And I don't know. But I just don't think Ben Shapiro is right in that regard. Do you have any thoughts before we go into tweets of the week? Because we're wrapping up on time here about this in general, Cap?
It's just I haven't even listened to all of Tucker's, and I agree more with Tucker. And if you just look at his demeanor compared to Charlie Kirk's demeanor, oh my God, everybody's name.
Yep. Ben Shapiro.
Ben Shapiro's demeanor. Ben Shapiro was out there just angry and demanding that this is how people look at it. And Tucker's out there
loosey-goosey, baby, laughing.
Yeah, making light of the situation and bringing up this is what Charlie wanted. Not we can't question Erica Kirk. She lost her husband. Charlie wanted this. Charlie wanted me to be a part of it. There's two completely different demeanors. And that's my biggest problem. And clearly Ben has ulterior motives. Clearly Ben has a number one priority in his podcasting career or his career in general. And they're on two different paths, and it's weird to see that basically the future of the right wing is more of like what we've wanted in, with this open-minded debate and truthful system compared to gatekeeping propaganda. One was promoting propaganda. The other one was speaking.
Yeah. Ben Shapiro used to be on our side.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago.
Well, like I said, there was just a day in October where I lost all respect for him. So.
I guess. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to tweets of the week. I got a couple that are recent. I had to pay attention to.
Do you have any from the last time we did it?
I had to delete those. They were still there.
Oh, they're redacted. Look, they're redacted.
Yeah, they're redacted. All right, my first one's from East End Joe, who says White House Christmas card. And it's Trump and Melania, but they're completely redacted. I thought that was a pretty funny tweet, given the release of the Epstein files.
People are so mad that it's just not a million photos of Trump and Epstein just banging little girls. It's insane. If those photos were out there, they would have been out since 2016.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. There's no other way it would have went down if those photos were real. And I'm not even the biggest fan of Trump anymore, but if they were out there, we would have had them.
There are some more photos of Bill Clinton that came out of him with younger girls in a hot tub and shit like that. And it's like, can we go and do something now about that, please? Is Bill Clinton beyond reproach?
Yeah.
Why should Donald Trump want to protect him? It's fucking Hillary Clinton's husband.
Yeah.
Shitty Democrat, we got to protect him, yeah. So,
Melania's still got a little body on her, though.
Oh, Melania's a beautiful woman. Absolutely. My next tweet is from Daryl Cooper, the Nazi apologist, whatever you want to call him, racist himself. Martyr Made, he said the TikTok sale was forced after Zionists complained about criticism of Israel on the app. Then it was sold to ultra-Zionist billionaire Harry Ellison. CBS was taken over by Ellison's son, who hired ultra-Zionist Barry Weiss to run CBS News. Weiss immediately hired ultra-Zionist Tony Dukupool to anchor. These moves aren't being made because they're popular. Outlets dedicated to shilling for Israel, like Daily Wire, are bleeding subscribers. This is a long-term project to reestablish control over the media that was lost with the advent of the internet, and they won't stop until they're forced to. Spot
Yeah,
on.
yeah. I I agree. Legacy media died, mainstream media died, and now there's a scramble.
There's an effort. How do we put the genie
Yeah.
back in the bottle? How do we get control of the genie? And I don't think it could work. My last one is the most controversial tweet probably of the year so far. And this
Oh,
is
Rob Ryan. You know what? I
our
actually never
post.
even read this
Yeah,
full thing that set this world ablaze.
We're gonna get into it. So Trump tweeted. So if you don't know, Rob Reiner died a horrific death. So Trump tweets: a very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, often referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed old goals and expectations of greatness, and with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before. May Rob and Michelle rest in peace. So if you don't know, Rob Reiner was stabbed to death by his own son and the mom. So it's like a really fucking grim, horrible tragedy, even for someone who admittedly I don't like. Go back many years in Two Doom Men podcast. He was an often, culprit of tweets of the week. Us pulling up some of Rob Reiner's insane tweets back in the day. What are your thoughts on Trump's kind of tweet in the wake of someone being stabbed to death by their son?
It's one of those things where, like, even back like at the height of me loving Trump, like he would always say something where I would just be like, you didn't need to say that at all. Like he was going to have a conversation with Andrew Cuomo, who was then at the time the governor of New York, right? He was governor, and Cuomo was going to have invited Trump. They wanted to talk. I think he needed help with COVID or something, and Trump was out there, and he was like, "Yeah, Andrew's a great guy. He's the mayor of New York City, and I love New York City, but he's a fucking loser and he's crazy and he sucks." Is being like, and I'm just like, no, dude, he just opened the door to like talk to you and like ask for help, and like you could kind of bend him over a barrel now and like make him work the way you need him to work or something, like, art of the deal. But like you just come out of the gate like calling him like a terrible person and a loser. Like you didn't need to say that. You didn't need to say this about, Rob Ryan, it just I don't have this big opinion on it because that came and went for me already. I've been so busy that this guy's death. I'm sorry. I don't know him, people. I don't know him personally. My life didn't change. Some guy named Bill in 2 states over died today. Tomorrow's Thursday for me. Wednesday for me. His death didn't affect me. He did have Trump derangement syndrome. He did play a part in slandering Trump and promoting propaganda. I just don't think Trump really needed to say anything on the matter. Yeah, but at the same time, there are innocent people wearing Charlie Kirk Freedom t-shirts, shopping in Walmart, getting chased out of there and threatened and followed home, all because they supported somebody who was open to free debate and dialogue with opposing forces instead of just screaming, "You're a racist Nazi fascist," and ending the discussion there. So, it's a double-edged sword. It comes both ways. There's so many. How many prevalent people out there said Charlie Kirk deserved to die for what he was trying to do? Well, you know what? I'm sorry. The biggest name on this side, I won't even say our side, the biggest name on this side, or the biggest name in the world that you could get, didn't give a fuck that this guy died because he didn't like him. Just like you didn't give a fuck that Charlie Kirk died because you didn't like him. He's just got more power, more swag, and more swing than you do.
Sure. So a couple things. I don't think it's a good comparison to make, or it's kind of ironic, I'd say. Like we just went through this whole thing where we all kind of agreed, like, Jesus, that was not just we hated that what happened to Charlie Kirk, but like the reaction was atrocious.
Mhm.
You know, and we all agreed, like, look, man, whether you liked him or not, whether you disagreed with him or not, like, this is a degenerate.
You're gonna go fight some old woman
immoral,
in a Kmart parking lot for wearing a Freedom T-shirt.
like the
you know?
response by these insane, crazy leftists, we all agreed was insane and immoral, and we denounced it because we thought it was. So I talk about denouncing and whatnot. But like, and this is not as bad. Trump does say here, you know, may he rest in peace, and et cetera. It's kind of in line with a lot of Trump shit talking. But you know, the point is that we are supposed to be better than these fucking deranged, immoral lunatics, you know, and just don't, you know, you don't have anything nice to say. Maybe just don't fucking say it at all. You know,
Is that what you've been teaching your kids?
I'm not saying I'm holier than Dow or holier than Trump. There are plenty of people who have died in the past couple of years who I loathe. Just don't say anything.
Yeah.
You know, like, am I supposed to do? Get up on and tap dance on a table and post it to the internet? What does that do for anybody?
Yeah.
It's also like a not healthy way to live if you're actually like acting that out.
That's
you know,
the problem. That's how many people live like that.
Yeah, so not as bad. I'm not trying to draw a complete comparison to the reaction to Charlie Charlie Kirk, but kind of similar in some regards.
Scagz is still stuck on Saturday, everybody.
All right, everybody, that's our show. Thank you for watching. Captain, sign us out. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever, all the things.
No, just Merry Christmas. Scagz, it was a great time with you. Doom Nation, I hope you guys enjoyed this installment. As the new year rolls in, we will be getting back on track the best we can. Life will find a way. So as always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you guys did that more, then we would be more inclined to stay on track, but that's up to y'all. And on that note, thank you guys. Merry Christmas. We will try and get another episode out before New Year's.
We'll try,
I don't know. We should probably be able to get it done. No problem. And with that, stay adios, Scagz.